This tutorial is for 5th grade, Module 1, Lesson 10. In this lesson, we're going to subtract decimals in both word form and number form. Section 1 says subtract, write the difference in standard form. So for problem A, I have 5/10 minus 2/10. Well, if I have 5/10 and I take 2 of them away, that would leave me with 3/10. Now all I have to do is write that number in standard form. So I don't have any whole numbers, no ones, but I have 3/10, so I'll write my 3 in the tenths place. Looking at problem B, I have 5 ones and 9 thousandths, and from that I'm going to subtract 2 ones. But since I'm not taking any thousandths away, I still have 9 thousandths. 5 ones minus 2 ones equals 3 ones. So I'll write that in standard form. I have 3 ones. I don't have any tenths, I don't have any hundredths, but I have 9 thousandths. So my answer is 3 and 9 thousandths. For question C, I have 7 hundredths and 8 hundredths, and from that I'm going to subtract 4 hundredths. Well, 8 hundredths minus 4 hundredths leaves me with 4 hundredths, and I didn't subtract any hundreds, so that still gives me 7. So now I have to write 7 hundredths and 4 hundredths as a decimal. So we have 700 in the whole number section, and now I need 4 hundredths. So I put a 0 in my tenths place and a 4 in my hundredths place. So that's 700 and 4 hundredths. For question D, I have 37 thousandths, and from that I'm going to subtract 16 thousandths. I can just do the standard subtraction here. 7 minus 6 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So my answer is 21 thousandths. Now I need to write that as a decimal. I don't have any whole numbers. I need to write 21 so it falls in the thousandths place. So I have a 1 in the thousandths place. That puts a 2 in the hundredths place, and I don't have any tenths. So that is the answer, 0 and 21 thousandths, written in standard form. Now when we subtract decimals using the standard algorithm, we really need to make sure that we line up our decimal points and line up place values on top of each other. It can be kind of tricky with subtraction. So looking at my first problem, 7 1/10 minus 7 hundredths. I know that I'm going to have to line up my decimal points and allow for 2 place values to the right of the decimal point so I can fit both numbers in. So I'm actually going to start by writing the second number down below here. So I have a 7 in the hundredths place, a 0 in the tenths place, decimal point, and 0 for my ones. Now I'm going to write the first number, keeping everything lined up. So I'll put my decimal point in first. That will help me keep things lined up. The 7 goes in the ones place and the 1 in the tenths place. Now in order to do this subtraction, I have to subtract everything in this bottom number. If I start in my furthest place value to the right, or the hundredths place, I don't have any hundredths in my top number. I still have to subtract that 7 though. So what I can do is I can put a 0 in that spot because I have 0 hundredths. So I'm not changing the value of my number when I do that. What that allows me then to do is regroup so I can do that subtraction. So I'm going to take that 1/10 and I'm going to regroup it as 10 hundredths. So that leaves me with a 0 now in the tenths place, and I have 10 in the hundredths place. That's going to allow me to subtract the 7 hundredths. 10 minus 7 is 3. Now I have 0 minus 0 in the tenths place. I'm going to include my decimal point, and 7 minus 0 is 7. So 7 1/10 minus 7 hundredths is 7 3 hundredths. Let's look at problem E. So again, I want to make sure I can line up my decimal points. I see that I need at least 2 place values to the right of the decimal point. So just like before, I'm going to start by writing that second number first. So let's put it down below here. and put my decimal point in so I know that I'm going to stack these numbers correctly, place value on top of place value. And again, in order to subtract, I have to subtract that 5 hundredths from something. So I'm going to put a 0 in my hundredths place, and that will allow me to do my regrouping. So I'll take one of my tenths, that leaves me with 8 tenths, and I will decompose it into 10 hundredths. That allows me to subtract. 10 minus 5 is 5, 8 minus 8 is 0, decimal point. 60 minus 2 is 58. So 60 and 9 tenths minus 2 and 85 hundredths is 58 and 5 hundredths. Let's do one more here. Looking at this problem here, I see I need at least 3 place values to the right of my decimal. So I'm going to write that number down below. And then I'll put my decimal point in, and I will write the first number, stacking correct place values on top of each other, and show the subtraction. And once again, I need to put a 0 in my thousands place so I can regroup and do this subtraction. So I'm going to take that hundredth, which leaves 0 in the hundredths place, decompose it into 10 thousandths. Now I can subtract. 10 minus 1 is 9. Here I have 0 minus 4, so I need to do some more regrouping here. I'll take 1 tenth, which leaves 2 tenths, and decompose that into 10 hundredths. 10 minus 4 is 6. Here I have 2 tenths minus 8 tenths, which means I'm going to have to regroup again. So I'll take that 1 whole, decompose it into 10 tenths, which now gives me 12 tenths. 12 minus 8 is 4. Put my decimal point, and I have 60 minus 2, which is 58. So 61 and 31 hundredths minus 2 and 841 thousandths equals 58 and 469 thousandths. And again, the trick here is to make sure that we are actually subtracting every number in that second number and adding in zeros to the first number if we need those zeros to perform that subtraction.